Thank you, Sven. Appreciate it. It's good to be back. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for taking time out to listen to a few words about one person's view of the industry. Really appreciate it. How many people are here for the first time? Formnext for the first time. Get them up high if you would. Okay, how many have attended at least 5 years? A few of you. How many are from outside Germany? Maybe a third or a half. Okay, how many from outside Europe? Okay. How many have been in the industry for 15 years? Oh, relatively few. How many fewer than 5 years? Okay, so we have a pretty mixed crowd in here. We have some veterans, some people who know a lot about AM, maybe people that are learning for the first time. Hey, we're all like sponges. We're just trying to soak it in because there's so much new here. Formnext is one of my very favorite events of the year. I just feel lucky to be here, to be able to see and learn and be a part of this industry, and I hope you do too. So thanks again for being here. So we've published the Wohlers report for 29 years. We're beginning to think about the 30th edition of the report, and some of you are contributors. Last year we had 120 people working on it from 30 plus countries, 10 of which are in-house and the other 110 are from around the world. And so it's truly a global effort. Our team, Wohlers Associates, was acquired by ASTM International just over 3 years ago. And so our team grew from fairly small to now more than 40 people. Not just our team, but also the ASTM Additive Manufacturing Center of Excellence, and then the Wohlers Associates team combined is, well, we just hired our 40th person this week. And we just continue to grow like a weed. And I just feel very proud to be a part of so much expertise. There's so much talent in people who know a lot about maybe industrial applications like big equipment, and others in medical, and others in aerospace, and we have experts in metallurgy and polymers, and so it's just really a privilege to, if I don't know something, and there's a lot of things I don't know, there's people within our team that typically does. So, and our core expertise, or at least our core focus over the years, and it was started in 1986, began to focus on AM and the following year. And over that time, we've worked with many companies around the world, in the range of 290 clients in most continents around the world, and many, many projects. So, and we continue to work on and get new projects to this day. Now we can work on much bigger projects because we have a bigger team, which is helpful. So, this is incorrect. I just now noticed this is not the 25th annual. This is the 29th. I just found a typo. I was updating this morning and somehow I missed that. So this is the 29th annual edition here. 385 pages, mentioned the 110 experts from many countries around the world. And we receive hard data, actual numbers from trusted sources from around the world, both producers of machines, materials, as well as users of these products. And the users range from startups to some of the biggest companies and brands from around the world. And this is a subset of that. These are service providers and contract manufacturers from around the world, and you can see where they are located. And so, yeah, we feel lucky that they're willing to supply us with information year after year so that we can then put together composite totals and report these numbers and charts and graphs like we see here. So this is one that we published for many years, but the numbers change every year because the data changes as we bring it in. And one trend is this, and then we saw this coming years ago, that more and more companies are using the technology for functional parts and end-use products. And will this grow to 100%, this category? Raise your hand if you think that, if you think it will. Oh, you're raising your camera, but not your hand, right? Okay, yeah. No, it won't, because obviously people will continue to use it for tooling applications, jigs and fixtures, and aesthetic models, and so forth. So those categories will continue, but we will see a growing number of companies using it for series and custom production parts. Now, we've all seen heat exchangers. They're on the show floor here. And many of these examples that we see are demonstrations. They're not really used for serious products. There's like, this is what's possible. And it shows the inside using a gyroid type configuration to really make it efficient. And half the size and 4 times the efficiency is staggering to me, to be able to do that. But what good is it if you're not really using it on a serious product? Well, we are seeing that, and here's an example of it. So a heat exchanger has been certified for installation on the F-35, which is the most expensive, the biggest program in the history of the United States, military program. Enormous amount of money was spent on this. And a 3D printed metal part is going on to it, which I think is pretty cool, because this is not a trivial part. And so this is the kind of activity that we're seeing go on behind the scenes. Let's look at the industrial sector. So we estimate, based on the hard data that we collect, that the industry was just over, a tad over $20 billion last year. And so how's that divided up into these industrial sectors? Well, this is it right here. And so if you look at it in the context of production applications, these 2 sectors really make up, they were among the early adopters of series production, a lot of custom work as well, or at least short run production. And then the second wave, I think, has really come from government programs, healthcare, but the biggest is automotive, even though relatively few automotive companies are really scaling to the point where they're using it for series production, with the exception of companies that are only building a few thousand cars per year, like the Lamborghini and some of the high-end vehicles. And so, but we are starting to see, like this Cadillac. This is a GM car in the United States. They're beginning to print a lot of parts for this automobile. They're printing in aluminum the steering wheel, as well as 114 other parts by additive manufacturing. And you can see aluminum, stainless steel, various types of polymers, using powder bed fusing. They're using binder jetting as well, metal binder jetting, and also metal powder bed fusion, which is the example that I'm showing in the upper left corner. So this is something that's relatively new, to see this kind of activity. Still an expensive vehicle, and we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of cars or a million vehicles. It's getting there, but we believe that once it does, it's going to drive costs down where we're all going to benefit from it. Better quality, more reliability, and more affordable for the machines and the materials. Another trend we're seeing is surface quality. This is a company that I've known about for about a year. I saw it at Rapid TCT earlier this year. They are here, I forget which hall, but I was reminded that the surface quality right off the machine is staggering. I mean, it's just really impressive. Using sterile lithography, this is an example of a single cavity, or actually a 2-cavity mold. And so they can get from the part to a molded part within a very short time. Even within the same day. And that's pretty impressive. These are parts that are grown directly. It's 100% pure silicone. And because the surface finish is so nice, it looks like it's a molded part. It just came off a mold, but it didn't. And so have a look if you're interested, and if that's important to you. Surface quality, speed, those are 2 areas in which we've been plagued. I mean, it's much faster than tooling if you're doing a certain quantity, but it's much slower if you're doing high quantities, typically. And so it's good to see that we are making progress with both speed, but also surface quality. Automation's a big one as well. AM Flow is a company that it's worth a look. We're seeing them do part sorting and online real-time inspection. And the cycle time per part is about 5 seconds. And it can sort it and even put it in bags. And this is the thing, if you can automate and reduce the requirement for labor, then you can compete with almost anybody in the world. So this is an important step, not necessarily AM Flow, but the idea of reducing labor to get to final product and to your customers. This is another development. So I know the print is quite small, but let me just say this, that this is the build volume of the EOS M290, which is a very popular and well-established platform. And this is the build volume of the large Nikon SLM Solutions NXG. And these 4 are from Chinese companies. Now, I'm not suggesting that bigger is always better, but it's impressive what these companies are doing in China. Anyone like to guess at how many Chinese companies are at Formnext exhibiting? How many? 20? Okay. No? Anyone else? 100? Ah, exactly 100 have exhibits. Another around 30 companies are distributors here that are selling Chinese products that are separate from those 100. So about 130 companies with 100 exhibitors. And that's a lot of companies out of 860. At Rapid TCT, we had 42, which is, I want to say it was about the size of this Hall 11, give or take. Would you agree? Yeah. So keep an eye on what's going on outside of Europe, US, and other countries. How many people are members of ASTM International? Next year at this time, I want more hands to go up. So, but even if you're not a member, you can participate in industry standards development. And ASTM and ISO partnered in the 2011-12 timeframe to co-develop and co-brand standards. Standards are so important to mature an industry, for it to really develop. And I mean, imagine if we don't have lighting standards or computing standards or standards on construction materials. It wouldn't, so standards are vitally important. So, and any of us, all of us, can participate in the development and even go to the meetings. You don't have to be a member. You can go for free. But if you want to vote, you pay, I think it's $110 for annual membership. But in any case, these consensus standards are so important, and they're, like I say, being developed by people like you and me, that really is so important. And I'm wrapping up here quite soon, and then if we have time for questions, we'll take a couple, but I'll leave that up to Sven. So we've done this for many years, really looking at trying to quantify the size of the industry, really the products and services that make up the additive manufacturing industry worldwide. And we estimate, based on the hard data that has come into us, that last year, as I mentioned before, about 20 billion. We think it's going to, approach 100 billion. We're always back off. We don't like to give these, outrageously, almost unbelievable forecasts, because we like to start out by extending our growth trend line. That's a good place to start. And, we bend it up or down based on a lot of factors. And so, if anything, we want to be a little bit low, and then years later report that maybe it's a little better. But in any case, we think that this is realistic, that the blue bars are historical, the yellow ones Yep, they're yellow, our forecasts. So, I mean, it's sizable, but, you know, to put it into perspective, there are some companies that are valued at more than $20 billion. Single companies, not necessarily additive, but, you know, if you think about it. So it's still a relatively small industry, but consider the value that it provides, like that heat exchanger. And it's hard to quantify the value of these parts that are going into some of these products and new businesses that are being developed as a result. We don't take that into account. We don't, just the products and services directly associated with additives. So this is really a relatively low number compared to the actual value it provides. And then if you look at the annual average over the last 36 years, it's grown 25%. Every year on average for 36 years. In the last 10 years, about 21%, just a little more than that. So, in summary, quality data really shows us trends, and that's important. I added the word quality just recently because you can get data, but what if somebody, here's a case in point. What if a company started in 2021, and then 2 years later they reported, yeah, we grew by 400%. Well, it's easy to grow, you know, if your income is very small and then you grow and they report that to us of 400% growth and add that in. No, that's an outlier. You throw it out. You don't use that data. So that's the kind of thing we need to use some intelligence or experience, I guess, to be sure that the data isn't skewed based on these outliers so that we have good quality data. And then applications, and this is something that Fried Van Creen, he's the founder of Materialize, and he says, Terry, applications are going to drive growth in the future, and I couldn't agree more. I talked to him just yesterday, and he just gave 3 examples of some trends that he's seeing. All 3 of them, coincidentally, were applications that he talked about. I said, Fried, do you remember that statement you made, you know, a few years ago? And so it was kind of a interesting conversation. And then I think recent developments that we're seeing here, yeah, there's a little bump in the road, a little dip. I think we're at the valley of the, I don't want to say the challenge that we're seeing, but we've seen that over the years. The growth's like that, but if you zoom in on it, it's like this, and it's growing, and we're at the, I think, no one knows for sure, the valley of that dip. And I think that what we're seeing out here really supports an optimistic future. So thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.
Big applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Terry Wohlers. Terry, I mean, first of all, any questions from the audience? That they should be first. Is there any question you want to ask? I was already, they mentioned already to me that we are running out of time, but allow me one question. You mentioned at the very beginning, this was the 29th Wohlers report. Yeah. So was it sometimes frustrating? Because, you know, if you are at that pulse and you are so close to the core essentials of what the industry is doing, and you are a consultant additionally, is it sometimes frustrating that we are not faster and we came not faster to this point of industrialization where we are today?
Frustrating that we haven't grown faster?
Yeah, for you, from outside?
You know, a lot of people, many people, even myself, I think, you know, why haven't we grown faster over the last, you know, 25% in the last 36 years? That's not bad. 21%.
Which is great. Yeah. But I mean, at least for me, it feels, and I'm quite a bit in the industry, it feels the first time that we're really talking about industrialization and have the first success stories. So this had taken a long time in order to elaborate, isn't it?
You know, Sven, so part of the challenge has been systems and materials, but I think we've mostly solved that problem. Yeah, there's a room for improvement, but it's everything that surrounds those. It's the pre-process, the design, and streamlining it, and then everything that happens after, you know, the post-processing, the qualification, certification, the education training, getting talent and keeping that talent, and really end-to-end workflows. And so that, I think, is our biggest challenge over the next foreseeable future.
Very good advice, by the way. Tomorrow we are discussing skills and talents, so please be there at the stage. So we are running out of time. Anyway, thank you so much. It was.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So on Monday we had the AM Innovation and Standards Summit here on site, and so our next speaker, Lauren, where are you? She will give a summary of that. So I really...
That's what is written.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you so much, Terry. It was
You're
a
welcome.
pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Terry Wohlers' exciting presentation as always. And as he mentioned, so he took my moderation, which is totally okay. So you will enjoy a little bit of our highlights here from Formnext. And after that, we are stepping into the topic of standardization and why it's so important in order to speed up and keep the pace we are currently having in our industry. See you in 2.5 minutes.